All right, guys, it's Miss Hardy recording for Biomedical Technology on Thursday, October 15th. We are continuing on with our cell biology and cancer introduction. We don't have very much slides to go through today, but I do want to make sure I go through your next assignment. It's going to be due tomorrow. So I'm going to back out of this screen here. Clicking on our daily agenda, we know that this is a running document we have of everything that's due. So if you ever had any questions about what we did on a particular day, if you were for some reason absent or trying to make up work, which I encourage you all to reach out if you need to do, then this is where you could go to find it. So discussion post, finishing cell biology and cancer intro, that first PowerPoint that we did, cell functions and notes, and that's your vocabulary is going to be due tomorrow. So again, guys, I have gone over how to take efficient notes with you guys before, and you've submitted study guides, and you've seen a lot of my note guides, so you've seen how sometimes we use organizers, sometimes we take vocabulary notes, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to do that today with an assignment, but making sure also, guys, you're watching the Zooms. I go over everything that you have to do and explain things, and I want you guys to take advantage of the Zooms because they truly are for you. Okay, another thing is many of you missed a quiz yesterday, okay? It was a quiz where you were required to watch the Zoom. However, that is not much work still. And unfortunately, we took missing grades for that. So I hate that. So make sure you're watching these Zooms and making up work, reaching out to me and letting me know. You have a discussion post for today. Make sure you click there and get that done. Okay. Never know when I grade those discussion posts. We're going to head over here to our unit. Okay. Unit 4, cell biology and cancer. All right. So here's that quiz. If you were to miss it yesterday, it gives you your directions. We're going to click into this first and finish up the last little bit of this assignment. So we're going to slide on through the first little bit where we learned about Steve and Nikki and their mom being diagnosed with cancer, and we were able to learn a lot about cancer based on those true-false questions. Okay, and here we are on day 2. So for day 2, we're going to introduce cell biology a little bit, and just very, very briefly, because our next assignment is going to break down the parts and pieces of the cell, and then we'll kind of be able to put all this together. Now that we know a lot about cancer, we're going to learn a lot about the cell biology, how the cell works, what are the cell pieces and parts that contribute to what the cell does, and then we'll kind of tie it back together. So Nikki has lots of questions, but she is not as much unsure about cancer as she is about what's happening in the cells. Why did these cells do this? What made them grow abnormally, okay? And so there's an obvious difference in the appearance of healthy cells versus cells that are affected with cancer, so they've been allowed to abnormally grow. So this is what we're looking at on a microscopic level. And even this is still not a level we could obviously see with our naked eye or even magnified enough for us to truly interpret this data for any reason, but it is interesting to see how very much so different these still look. These look very rounded and very traditional, where these almost look like asteroids to me. It looks like space. So keep that in mind. If you were to see these differences, you would be able to pick up something's going wrong. Okay, so again, healthy cells versus cancer cells. What this has done is labeled parts of the cell for you in both pieces or both cells, so you can compare them to one another. You can see how very different they are. So scrolling down to this next one, it actually points it out for you. So for cytoplasm, we know that in cytoplasm is like that jelly that everything hangs out in. It's very thick in a healthy cell. It's very thick and it's very cushioning. In a cancer cell, it's not. The nucleus, there's only one nucleus in a healthy cell, but in a cancer cell, there may be multiple nucleus. So that's the first indication that something has gone wrong and these cells are growing abnormally, because there should only be one. Chromatin, okay, there's fine chromatin, which means obviously thinner, and in cancer cell, they're actually quite thick and coarse, so I like to think about them like hair. Okay, so you have really fine, thin hair for your healthy, but then you have coarse, thick hair in your cancer cells. And then your nucleolus, there's one in a healthy cell, and then of course there's multiple in cancer cells. And when you're looking at these on a microscopic level, you would be able to pick up those differences. And so that's what some of our researchers focus on. That sometimes when we take a biopsy of someone's cancerous mass, or tumor, we can determine, is this are these cancer cells, or is this, and you'll learn these terms as we go through, a benign tumor. So we will talk more about the terms benign and malignant and metastasized and all of those. But this is just to kind of give you an idea of, what the very first look into what these cells may look like, okay? That's the last slide for this PowerPoint, because again, this is just your introduction. So what we're going to move to next is going to talk more about cell biology. We've learned a lot about cancer so far, just from those true-false questions. We need to spend a little bit more time on the cellular level, because we're learning backwards. We learned about cancer, now we're going to learn what happens at the cellular level to cause cancer, and then we're going to kind of round it back up to cancer and finish talking about the different types and give you some of that vocabulary that we talked about earlier. So what I'm going to do is head on back to our modules, okay, and show you what your lesson is for today. So again, that was just your brief introduction. So here is your notes for today, okay? So these are notes on cellular functions. So these are the pieces and parts of the cell, and it's your job to take notes of them. Okay, it is your job to take notes of them. So again, you can use color, you can use boxes, you can separate based and learn them alphabetically. You can learn what they look like. You can learn what they're supposed to look like when they look different. However works for you. This is an opportunity to personalize these notes to what you need. And that's a benefit here, because we all are still learning how to be successful students. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to take your notes and you're going to submit them under this link, Cell Functions Vocab. Okay, submit your vocab from the cell function notes. I have not provided a guide for you, so time to practice your note-taking skills again. There should be the parts of the cells, and I also need you to detail which parts are present in animal cells and or plant cells. So a little bit of research on your side. Is every single piece present in both plant cells and animal cells? I don't know. It's up to you to find out. This is going to be due tomorrow night by 11:59 p.m. Okay, so by tomorrow at 11:59, you should submit this vocabulary. Okay, and if you have any questions, let me know. We're going to start going over the functions tomorrow, just so I can give you little tips and tricks on how to remember and things like that. But for tonight, you can finish up kind of reviewing that introduction, and then kind of head back over to cell functions and start working on the different parts and pieces of the cell, because the parts and pieces are what make the cell do what it's supposed to. If it messes up, then we have to break it down. Okay? If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know, and I'm here to assist you. Thank you.